In the Philippines, we were raised to believe that respect means silence. We were taught that the person with the oldest birth certificate or the fanciest title in the room is always right, no matter how inefficient their process is. But while the traditionalists were busy gatekeeping the boardroom, a silent revolution was happening. Millions of us Filipino millennials spent the last decade working for the West. We worked for companies from places such as New York, London, Sydney. We weren't just outsourced, we were reprogrammed. We learned that results matter more than sir or ma'am. We learned that efficiency is the highest form of respect, and following orders is the fastest way to kill a company or your career. And now, we're taking over. If you ever worked in a traditional corporate setup, you know it feels less like a business and more of like a feudal kingdom. In the traditional Pinoy office setup, the org chart isn't just a map of roles. It's a map of territories and egos. It's built on the seniority rule, where the person who has sat in the swivel chair the longest is automatically the wisest person in the room. In that world, respect is synonymous with silence. If you spot a flaw in the plan, you don't say it in the meeting. You whisper it in the pantry because correcting a sir or a ma'am is social treason. We call it Pakikisama. But let's be honest, in a bad management culture, Pakikisama is just saving face at the expense of the bottom line. If you show too much initiative, you're not high-performing, you're pabida. You're the one making everyone else look bad. But then you get that first job with a global firm. Maybe it's an Australian tech startup or a US-based creative agency. And you meet Dave. And the first time you call him Sir Dave, he looks at you like he's seen a ghost for the first time. He says, "Man, just call me Dave. I'm not a knight." Which will come as quite a shock for the average Filipino. You realize that in Dave's world, the hierarchy is flat, and results are the only royalty. Dave doesn't care if you've been there 10 years or 10 minutes. He wants to know just the specifics of the job at hand, maybe why the cost per click is spiking. And this is the part that terrifies most Filipinos. He only wants to know your opinion or how to fix it. For a Filipino millennial, this is a total reprogramming of our 90s upbringing. We were raised to be diplomatic, which we often interpreted as avoiding conflict. But in a global results-driven culture, conflict is a tool. If I tell Dave I disagree with this direction because the data shows X and Y, I'm not being bastos or pabida. I'm just being valuable. For the guys out there, think of it like tuning a car. In a traditional setup, if the senior mechanic says the engine is fine, you don't argue, even if you see smoke. You just let the car stall on the highway because the mechanic knows best. But the new breed of leaders, we're looking at the sensors, we're looking at the telemetry. We've learned that efficiency is the highest form of respect. If you can do a task in 4 hours that used to take 8, you're not lazy, you're a genius.
You're goddamn right.
We are trading the OTY culture for the GSD culture, the get shit done culture. The real takeaway here is realizing that the diplomacy we learned as kids, reading the room, understanding people's moods, that's not for staying quiet anymore. We've repurposed it. We now use those 90s survival skills to negotiate better outcomes and manage stakeholders across different time zones. We aren't just workers anymore. We're the ones rewriting the new professional code, one Y at a time. In the Pinoy vocabulary, fewer words carry more weight than the word sayang. Traditionally, sayang was about passive regret. It was the sayang naman we said when we missed a flight because of traffic, or when a good project died because of a lack of funding. We were raised to accept sayang as a fact of life, a byproduct of a system that was always a little bit broken. But the new breed of leaders, we've weaponized that word. To us, sayang isn't a sigh. Sayang isn't simply regret. It's a trigger. We don't just feel bad about waste. We hate it with a ruthless, analytical passion. Because when you've spent years working in global markets where every minute is billable and every dollar is tracked via KPI, you stop seeing time as something you just pass. You see it as your most valuable, non-renewable currency. And the most street-smart thing about us is we've stopped romanticizing the hustle and started worshiping efficiency. In a traditional office, Hard work is performative. It's staying until 8 p.m. just because the boss is still there. It's sitting through a 3-hour general assembly where the only thing achieved was the boss hearing his own voice echo off the walls. To the old guard, that's dedication. To us, that's a crime. We look at that meeting and we don't see collaboration. We see 20 people times 3 hours equals 60 wasted man hours that could have been used for something much more impactful. We see the sayang of human potential. We are the generation that will look a director right dead in the eye and say, this could have been a Slack message. Let's go back to work. Here's another key insight. We're not becoming Westerners, or we're not becoming Westernized, if you will. We're slowly becoming optimized Filipinos. We've taken the Western obsession with ROI or KPIs and mapped it onto our Pinoy grit. We value our people too much to let them rot in useless bureaucracy. We waste talent when we tell a brilliant 23-year-old that they have to wait 5-10 years because there's a line. In our world, that line is a myth. If you can deliver the results today, you lead today. We are the ones killing the national anthem of mediocrity, which is ganyan talaga eh. When we see a 50-year-old process involving 3 carbon copies and 4 signatures just to buy a box of paper clips, we don't just shrug and say, that's just how it is. We feel the physical itch of sayang. We say, there's an app for that. There's an automation for that. There's a better way to do this. And we're implementing it before the next board meeting. We aren't just changing the software, we're changing the standard. We've realized that being mabait or kind doesn't mean mabagal or slow. True kindness is building a system that works so well that your team can go home at 5 p.m. every day to be with their families. The death of sayang is the birth of the new leadership. We aren't here to maintain the status quo. We're here to tune the engine until the whole country runs smoothly and faster. At least that's the goal. This is the part that keeps me up at night, usually. Not out of anxiety, but out of pure, unadulterated excitement. Because we are the bridge generation. We carry a very specific kind of scar tissue. We're the last ones who grew up with the chinelas doctrine. We remember what it was like to be disciplined by fear at home, in school, and eventually in our first entry-level jobs. We remember that sinking feeling in our gut when a sir or ma'am called us into their office. And in that era, leadership was quite a monologue. It was about power, proximity, and the ability to make someone feel so small so you could feel big. And I can't wait for those days to be over. But because we spent our 20s in the trenches of the global market, we realized something revolutionary. Fear is the enemy of innovation. When people are afraid of their leaders, they don't give you their best ideas. They give you their best yes. They hide mistakes until they become catastrophes. They don't take risks because in a fear-based hierarchy, a mistake isn't a lesson, it's a death sentence. So when we lead today, we're doing something deeply personal. We're consciously trying to be the leader that we wish we had when we were 22 and starting out. We are retiring the ma'am and sir titles, not because we lack respect, but because we want to remove the barriers that stop the truth from reaching the top. We realize that influence is 100 times more powerful than authority. Authority is what you have because of a title on a business card. Influence is what you earn because your team knows you'd go to bat for them in a heartbeat. We're the first generation to treat empathy as a metric. We understand that a team that feels psychologically safe, meaning they feel safe to fail, safe to ask a stupid question, safe to disagree with the boss, is the only team that eventually wins in 2026. We aren't soft. Don't mistake our kindness for weakness. Remember, we still have that 90s grit. We survived brownouts, dial-up speeds, and the most grueling hustle culture transition in modern history. We know how to grind, but we've decided that the grind doesn't have to be cruel. We are blending the grit of our analog childhood with the radical openness of global culture. We are the ones who will call out a team member for poor performance, but will do it with the intention of building them up, not tearing them down. We're the ones who celebrate a fail fast moment because it means we're one step closer to the solution. We are building a new Philippine corporate DNA, one where leadership isn't about being at the top of a pyramid, but being at the center of a network. We are leading by influence because we want to be followed out of inspiration, not out of the fear of being fired. We're not just managing departments anymore. We are healing a culture. Look, the reality is this. Time is doing the work for us. In the next 5 to 10 years, the old guard will retire. The desks will clear, the titles will be vacated, and the keys to the kingdom will be handed over. And the people stepping into that vacuum, the ones who will finally occupy the seats of power, aren't just gonna manage the Philippines. They're going to rebuild it. I know it's easy to feel just like another cog in the global machine. I think that too. I know there are days when the graveyard shift or the endless Zoom calls feel like they're just about the paycheck. I get it, but I'm asking you to look closer. If you've spent the last few years working for a foreign company, don't just take the salary. Take the mindset. That efficiency you've learned, that's a tool. That radical transparency, that's a weapon against corruption. That empathy you show your team, that's the cure for a culture that's been hurting for a long time. Don't leave that global operating system that you've developed in your home office desk when you log off. Bring it to your local community, bring it to your startup, and bring it to your family business. We owe it to the version of us who played in the mud or rain in the 90s, hoping for a better future, and now to actually build it. The era of ganyan talaga is over. That's the phrase that has killed more Filipino dreams than poverty ever could. The era of ayusin natin is here, and we're the ones holding the pen. To the subscriber who suggested we dive into this, at Holding Steadfast, thank you, man. You're right. The shift isn't coming. It's already happening in the way you and I think. And honestly, it's about damn time. I'm Chase. Salamat for watching.